Today on the Diz List, we discuss the top 5 Pixar attractions at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything at Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 34, where we discuss the top 5 Pixar attractions at Walt Disney World.
Before we get to the list, I would like to thank all of our listeners for going and reaching out to Podcast Mics for Magic. Keep that up. They really are raising some funds for a great cause. You can find them over on Instagram and follow links to help donate. And also, I would like to thank you all for really supporting us. We've gotten quite a few new listeners in the last couple of weeks, and that's been great.
And we hit a new milestone, didn't we, this week, Nick?
We did, actually. Just before we released our episode on Wednesday, so Tuesday evening, I was just fooling around on Anchor and looking, and all of a sudden it was like, you have 4,999 listens. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we hit 5,000 downloads this week, which is great. And now I'm really re-energized. Sometimes it can get a little bit in the doldrums, and now it's like, okay, we're going to get to the next 5 even quicker, next 5,000 even quicker. So I'm really excited, and people were great and congratulating us and stuff when we posted some stuff on social media.
It's cool. I mean, I really appreciate everybody, and it's a fun hobby, obviously, for Nick and I, and we're going to have these conversations no matter what, but now we get to record them, and you can all laugh along and enjoy it with us.
Yeah, you get to get a little sneak peek inside of our crazy brains. So this week is an interesting episode, I think, because when you first suggested this to me, I really was thinking, like, are there enough rides to do that? But you forget the IP that is actually Pixar.
And it's even crazier to think about the fact that Disney didn't even have Pixar that long ago.
No, I mean, when you look at the fact that there were actually Pixar rides or attractions in the parks before Disney had that acquisition.
Yeah.
It's which weird I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So, when I was running through the list, I was like, wow, I forgot that's a Pixar movie, and then that opened up my mind to being like, okay, well, I guess we actually can do a whole top 5. They could do a whole park, right?
Yeah, I mean, they could. I mean, that would be great. And the hard thing would really be, what do you do with the rest of the Disney animation projects? Do they get their own park?
Well, I think we got an idea for a 5th gate.
I think we do. And
a 6th. I mean, they've kind of already done it, right? They've got Pixar Pier.
Yeah, which is a kind of a fun area in Disney California Adventure.
Yeah, I mean, when you throw in what they have there and you talk about what Pixar attractions exist in the greater, parks in Orlando, and then you start thinking about Disneyland Paris and all of those things, it adds up to a lot of attractions. A lot.
I think what Disney could do is they could just make that 5th gate and add in that Pixar Pier area in whatever the 5th gate is. And I know they don't have room for this, but I don't see why on the West Coast they don't buy more land in a different area. So I would say near enough to Anaheim where employees can go back and forth and finally do Westcott.
Have you not looked at Google Earth and seen how densely developed that area is?
I mean, it would have to be further east, obviously.
It would have to be almost a Sacramento before you get enough land.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that they need to make the whole Westcott idea. I do know that I think Universal has the right idea of not sticking toward the coasts, and they're putting. I mean, Vegas is close to the coasts, but not.
And Texas was the other one, right?
Yeah, I mean, somewhere in the middle. I think a Middle America park would be great. It needs it, right? If you're living in, Minnesota, if you're living in, even Western Kentucky, you're kind of a long way from both.
Well, it's funny you said Minnesota. Have you ever been to the Mall of America with a theme park on the inside? It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean Disney could make a new mall. I mean that's pretty much like when you think about like the success of like the local Six Flags type things. You know, was it Cedar Point is in Ohio, right? There's no reason that a Disney park couldn't do well there. Obviously, I don't want to see them put their development dollars there. I'd rather see it where I'm vacationing.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, yeah, I was shocked when I started looking at the list and saw just how many Pixar rides and Pixar attractions exist. I guess I just didn't think of it.
And if you really expand even more, like when I was doing some of my research on this, like other things were coming up I completely forgot about. Like Art of Animation has the whole Cars and Finding Nemo areas in a resort. And All Star Movies has that whole Toy Story area. So not only is it in the parks, but it's also in the resorts.
So I don't want to steal any of your thunder because I don't know what your list is going to be after when we come back into our list. But since we're usually doing Disney World stuff, I just want to point out that I am so jealous of the land, that California has in Cars Land.
Yeah, last night we were watching, Nick came over and his family, and we were just getting psyched up for my trip out there, and we were watching what's Radiator Springs Racers. What a cool ride that is.
I think that land is the most well-themed land, and I'm including Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
I think it's so well-themed. I'm so excited for you. I'm jealous.
You'll be there soon.
Maybe, yeah.
I think your comment was interesting last night. You said that it may be the most immersive and best themed land next to Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally, I don't know that I've ever been in a themed park like Harry Potter Land.
It's incredible.
Like Diagon Alley.
And I've
Harry
only
Potter
been in the one half. I went in the half that's part of Universal Studios Orlando. So
not Islands of Adventure?
No, I have never been. It's that and the water park there are that's the only two places I haven't really been.
Gotcha.
In Orlando.
Yeah.
They used to have across the street there was another water park, but I think Universal bought up that whole area. It was called Wet and Wild. You ever heard of it?
No.
My cousin worked there, and we used to go there every summer. So anybody who's an Orlando person listening to this may remember Wet and Wild Water Park.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, we spent a lot of time there too.
Yeah. I think that the Cars Land, the theming is just so ridiculously good.
And there's 3 rides. There's one that is similar to Alien Swirling Saucers, and that's Mater's Roundup Rodeo. Is that right?
I don't know.
Sounds right.
No, that's Roundup Rodeo is the new restaurant.
That's a new restaurant. Yeah. Mater's. Look it up for me.
Yeah.
And the other one is Luigi. It's Luigi's something, and Nick's going to look that up too. And
apparently.
That ride, you just kind of sit and all the cars kind of dance around in a similar way that's like in Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, where you go in the middle and Daisy is kind of conducting and you're moving around in the center. So yeah, so we're going to be going out there in a couple months, and I'm really looking forward to coming back and doing some kind of special episode to tell everybody what I liked about our trip. And also some listeners and friends, Eric in particular, has been giving me some tips. So if anybody has tips on Disneyland, things they want to share. I've been to California twice, but I've never been to Disneyland or Disney World. So
yeah,
we're going to be staying in a hotel nearby. We're not staying at Disneyland Resort or the Grand Californian. So we're within walking distance. So yeah, any good tips, please send my way. I'd be more than happy to hear it.
So it's Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters.
Yes, that's it.
Mater's Junkyard Jamboree.
Oh, okay. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That is a good name. So I basically took Toy Story restaurant and Mater and turned it into one.
Yeah, okay. It's okay. I mean,
it sounded good.
Yeah, sure. Mater's barbecue. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Mater could probably cook some barbecue on the hood of the truck. Why not?
Yeah, who knows?
Let's do it.
Right on the radiator. All right, we're going to go off to the Skittles halftime show with Randy Newman. Have a good one. Welcome back from that rousing performance of "You Got a Friend" by Randy Newman.
You know what's weird is whenever I think of Randy Newman, I also think of Newman from Seinfeld because they're, they have kind of a similar look.
I don't know. That's kind of harsh on Randy Newman.
I don't know. I think the guy that Wayne, I forgot what his name is. I think he's awesome.
Oh, I do too. But I don't know. Yeah, I think he looks a little more.
This?
He looks a little dweebier than Randy Newman.
They look like they could be cousins.
Sure. Yeah. Except for Randy Newman's way more talented.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is there
for sure? That's not an argument.
Yeah, Randy Newman, like his music, whenever you hear it, you know it's Randy Newman.
But, incredible piano player too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he'll go down as somebody that's up there with like the Sherman Brothers as far as ideas musically,
creating classic songs for attractions and movies and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about attraction stuff and original park songs last time, and you had mentioned something about doing non-original park songs, but like songs that are tied to Disney IP or part of rides. And I mean,
I think this is going to be on both of our lists.
I mean, that Randy Newman's pretty.
You got a friend in me is
pretty high up there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So when I first started thinking about this list, as I mentioned earlier, I thought, we're going to have a lot of double ups because there's not that many.
Yeah, we probably will, but
I think we'll still have a lot of double ups. But I didn't realize, like, I was listing them all out, and it was like 11, 12, 13 of them or something like that. So, but I'm excited to hear some of your thoughts on some of these rides, because I think even if we double up, we might have arguments about the order in which they belong, and I'm fine with that. But
I'm predicting
that
our 1 and 2 is the same.
Okay. I bet you our number 1 is. Actually, yeah, number 1 and 2 are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And probably in the same order, too.
Probably.
All right. Let's get to it. Let's find out.
My number 5, I don't think is going... Well, maybe it would be on our listeners' top 5 for Pixar rides. Maybe. This one, I think, is a little extra special for our family and me and my daughter specifically. Because at the Magic Kingdom, one time, my wife and son went off to do something else, and my daughter says, "Let's go do Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor." I said, "All right, let's go do it." So we went over and did Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. And if you're not familiar what Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor is, you walk into this giant room. I'd say auditorium, but it's not really. I guess sort of. And you sit, and in front of you, there's like these white lamps, like on the back of the seat in front of you, just this lamp. And you look up at the screen, and there's a computer animated character, but they have the technology that they have somebody with cameras inside of the theater, and they have an actor reacting to whoever's in the theater. So the light will go on wherever you're sitting, and all of a sudden you're on the screen, and the Monsters, Inc. character is, joking or making fun of you or asking you to do something. And I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but the light went on, and it was on me, and the text said something about dance like no one's looking or something similar, and I just immediately shot up and started dancing, and my daughter has it on video. It's so funny.
And it was the same dance that you did with the African tam tam drummers.
Yes, it's true. I guess I get picked all the time.
It's the fist pump.
Yes, it was.
It's the fist pump dance.
It is.
We've all seen. If you're friends with Rob, you've seen it.
It's a little bit. There's a little bit of like a hardcore mosh pit mixed with polka and dance club. It's kind of a combination of all three.
It is like if dad jokes were a dance,
but there's punching involved, so
yeah,
it's
but
still cool.
And folks, I'm not saying he's a bad dancer. I'm like it's clearly a joke, right?
I do have rhythm. You can't argue that.
Yeah, it is clearly a joke, but it is like it's hilarious to see when he starts doing, because like especially with the teenage daughter, like the eye rolls that he gets.
I definitely do from her for sure. But this time she thought it was the funniest thing. I don't know. I don't think that'll last forever.
Yeah.
I think it'll go away and then it'll come back again when she's older.
Maybe. She's got to get a sense of humor back.
Yeah, that's true. That's teens.
Yeah.
She's great, though.
The whole idea of that particular show didn't appeal to me, I didn't think, right? Mm-hmm. And then when we went to it for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, I can get behind that.
Was that the first time you did it when we did that at Magic Kingdom last summer?
It was, because the first year we went there, I can't remember why we didn't do it in 2019.
COVID restrictions?
No, not in 2019, but in 2021 it was closed when I was there.
For that reason, or
for COVID.
Okay,
yeah. So I only had one prior opportunity to do it, and it's just something we didn't do. And I think it's always fun when that guy gets picked and they go after him. It's always fun to be in there and joke, and you're kind of hoping you get picked, but you're also kind of hoping you don't.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's great, and it's actually very similar to my number 5.
Oh, I was just going to mention that.
So before you mention it, because I don't know if it's on your list, but my number 5 is a very similar attraction.
It's on my honorable mention.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to I'm glad you're saying this now, because I was just going to bring it up.
So my number 5 is also with a remote actor.
Yep.
Except for my number 5 is Turtle Talk with Crush, because it's with kids, whereas Laugh Floor is more...
They make fun of the dads.
Yeah. Where, over at Turtle Talk, you've got... they do a really good job of injecting that, not adult humor, but like there's definitely some puns there that kids in the room that they're talking to don't get, and the parents are like laughing, like especially when they start talking about like how hot it is, or they'll talk about like the cost of the vacation, or little thing. I feel like there's always like a TikTok that is being released at least once a week of some interaction with Turtle Talk with Crush that was like ridiculous. My son got picked the first year we were there. He was wearing a yellow shirt, and he's like, wanted to talk to, hey, little man with the mellow yellow on. And like, so it was just so cool that like my son got to talk to him, and like, I think that whole interaction is fun because for a kid, like you think that it is actually happening in front of you, right? And that turtle is actually the one talking to you. You don't realize it's an actor.
Because it's part of the Disney magic. You're in the moment.
So where I grew up, there was a park called Santa's Workshop. And there is a tree at Santa's Workshop that you would go and stand at, and you would talk to, and the tree would talk back to you, because there was a person either with a video camera or inside I don't even know. It was, as a kid, you don't know. And this particular attraction reminds me of that, and I have some of my favorite memories were going as a kid and seeing if the tree was going to pick me to talk to, because it wasn't a guarantee.
Does the tree's mouth open and close like a puppet?
No, it's like literally just when I was a kid, like you'd go and you talk to this tree, and like there was a speaker inside of the tree then that would like, I mean, it's really lame looking back at it, but like as a kid, I remember being like just enamored with this. And so for me, Turtle Talk with Crush is like that times 10, right? And seeing the kids interact with Crush, and the fact that like on our first trip, my son was able to do it.
That's cool.
Because it's not a guarantee. Have your kids ever talked to Crush?
Yeah, we've done it a couple times. We did it when they were a little younger, and I remember they were... apprehensive, not scared. Just they wanted to watch and didn't really want to get picked, and that's fine. It's totally their thing.
Well, and usually they sit way up front. The kids are up front, so they're away from you.
Yeah,
so that can be a little bit.
We kind of came in. Not late, but before the show started, we were all kind of in the back, but it was hilarious. It was great.
Yeah, I love that one. So that's my number 5. I'm glad that I jumped in so you didn't talk about it.
No, because I was going to say, at the end of mine, I was going to say on my honorable mentions list is another similar, attraction, and I was going to bring that up, but that was perfect.
Yeah, I love that. I love it.
My number 4 is a ride where certain people last summer got very competitive, and
come on, dude!
And that is Space Ranger Spin. That's the Buzz Lightyear ride. So, without getting into stories and making people heated,
you can tell the truth.
It's fine. There's both Nick and my wife are incredibly competitive. And they started this rivalry last year.
It started around Christmas time last year. It was a long time.
They were going to take each other down in Space Ranger Spin. And, my wife studied and studied and studied, and she wanted to take Nick down. And so then the day finally came. We get onto the ride, and they start going, and they're shooting, and they're shooting, and they're shooting, and like... She memorized all of the places where you can get all these bonus points, and she maxed out pretty early, and then all of the cars froze. Not just yours, but all of them did. And they froze in a really good spot, and for her. And to be fair, it is what it is, and she ended up winning. And someday there will be a rematch, and I'm excited about being there for that. But that was kind of funny the way that worked out.
Yeah, funny sure. Rob is underselling the competitiveness that
both of you
runs through our veins.
Oh yeah.
And so it was highly frustrating that my cart got stuck in between 2 rooms while she was looking at Zurg, just sitting there pounding his underarm and getting 10,000 points every single time. But yeah, I like this. It doesn't make my list, believe it or not. I love the ride, but the reason it doesn't make my list is I just feel like it needs some TLC.
It does.
And we didn't put that on our TLC list, but when I started thinking about it's not as good as it could be with just a little bit of TLC. The fact that our car got stuck, the fact that I've been in ones before where the gun doesn't move, the gun doesn't pivot.
Yeah.
And that's fine for an adult, but if you're a kid and you get stuck in that, I don't know.
I read that Space Ranger Spin on the West Coast, the guns will come off and disconnect. I don't know if there's literally a cord or if it's
I'd assume it's
wireless type thing.
Yeah, I would assume.
And you can move the gun all around.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to seeing how much the ride is different and how much all of the rides are different, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in knowing that. So, it's a fun ride. I know my family absolutely loves it, and not just wanting to take Nick down on the ride, but my wife, every single time she's out for blood, no matter who it is, she needs the high score. And my son has gotten pretty good at it too. And then my daughter and I will just ride together and laugh and make funny faces at the camera, and we have a good time. I enjoy it, but I'm not out to kill like my wife is. Yeah. She's a collegiate athlete, and sports has been her whole life, so she's mega competitive.
She's a galactic superhero.
She is.
She's got the sticker to prove it.
What do you have for number 4?
So my number 4 is one that I think is more because of my family's enjoyment of animals, and in particular aquariums. So my number 4 is the Seas with Nemo and Friends.
Yeah, that's a cool one too.
I recognize that for a lot of people, this particular ride represents the end of the purity of Epcot.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot too.
So I get that for a lot of folks, they're going to be, well, this is the ride that started it all, or all went downhill after this. For me, I don't really have those pre-IP days, in my mind because I didn't go to Epcot until 2019.
I did, and I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me.
Right.
Like, it's kind of fun for something to be new and updated.
Well,
but there's a lot of purists that hate that. I realize that I am different. Well, I don't know. Now that you think about it, let's go off on a tangent for a second here.
Sure.
Do you think, you're a statistics guy.
Okay.
Do you think there's more people that just don't really care? Or are there more people that don't like it because they want it the way it was? Sub question, are those people just really, there's a small number of them and they're really loud?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that it's the louder people are the ones you hear about that.
Okay.
Because for most adults, most sane adults, in my opinion, likely prefer it this way because it's an easier sell to your kids, right? I love Epcot. I don't know it would be as easy of a sell to my kids if
Otherwise, it's just
if it
an
didn't
aquarium.
have IP, right? Yeah. I mean, a ride through an aquarium, like whatever. But like a ride through a movie that you loved, that you grew up loving, that you grew up watching, and then you end up in an aquarium. I think it's really kind of cool how the Imagineers were able to project the animation onto the actual walls of a real aquarium.
It's cool.
So it's like different every time. I just find that particular ride also, and I could be crazy here, but I feel like it's the most well air conditioned and it's the best climate control.
Yeah, it really is.
In the park, possibly in all of Disney World, but certainly in the park. I love Finding Nemo. I think it's a hilarious movie. I think the premise is hilarious. I think it's got some of the best characters of any Pixar film outside of Toy Story.
Oh, definitely.
And so for me, that ride is great. And we've talked or a couple episodes ago about, when we talk about non-ride things to do at Epcot, that particular ride is right near one of my favorite things to do.
Right. I remember that coming up, and I mentioned the aquarium. You were so mad because you had left it off of your list.
Exactly.
Well, and obviously it's going to happen on our show.
Yeah.
Things are going to slip our minds.
Absolutely.
But, I think it's such a great thing and honestly, it's very relaxing. And I know that there's kids that are running full speed around there too, but just when you're there and the glass and the lighting and the blue light, and it's funny because even if kids are really loud, that sound doesn't really reverberate.
No.
It's dampened since you're in that room. So even when the kids are really loud, it's not as aggressive as it could be in other places.
Well,
so
I think
relaxing.
I think that's by design, so that way the sound doesn't travel into the aquarium. Personally, I think that's the issue.
Sure.
I think it's a great way to relax for a little bit. It's super hot. Go to Turtle Talk. Go from Turtle Talk to, ride the seas with Nemo and Friends. Get done and walk through the aquarium. That can take up an hour of your day.
Go see Little Joe.
Make sure he's still alive, and if he's not, make sure you let us know,
please.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's I love the ride, and I know my kids do too. I think it's a wonderful. It's a great queue too, I believe too.
Yeah, it was. That was on my honorable mentions. The queue is very relaxing. I think if I'm remembering it right, that they project from the ceiling kind of that texture of the water. Like if you're underwater, they almost, I don't know how to describe it. Almost like a
ripple,
web,
like the ripple
and
effect.
web. Yeah,
absolutely. So
that's cool.
Number 4, the seas with Nemo and Friends.
Number 3, I'm sort of sticking with that Toy Story competition theme, which makes. I mean, I'm going to get right to it. It's Toy Story Mania. I always found that interesting that they create another ride in a different park that's a similar kind of like game, but I guess that all kind of goes back to Toy Story, like a game. It's toys, it's for kids, but this ride, Space Ranger Spin to Toy Story Mania is a big jump for me.
So I am so glad that this is on your list.
Yeah.
Because when you said Space Ranger Spin, I was like, I'm not going to wait, because at number 3, I have Toy Story Mania as well.
Okay. I think we're going to match up here.
On Midway Mania, I was like, if he's got Space Ranger Spin and doesn't have Midway Mania, it's about to be a fight on this podcast.
No, I'd be stupid if I did that. I mean, this ride's awesome.
I agree with you 100%
So
what you
much
just
fun.
said about it's a jump, right?
It's a big jump.
Yeah. I think it's probably because we grew up playing video games that this particular one is cooler to us.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the screens, the 3 dimensions, it's different every single time. I feel like this isn't one where, I figured out the way to do it. I have to shoot this part of Zurg's arm and I'm going to max out the points.
Well, I mean, in this ride, I mean, if you haven't done this ride before, what it is you're kind of going from screen. So you're in a cart. It's you and another person. You get a shooter, and on the back of the shooter, it's like a pull string, like you would pull the back of something like a baby doll, and it says "Mama" or whatever, right? And that's kind of what your shooter is, and you're in a 2-person pod, and you kind of rotate from screen to screen. But the thing we haven't mentioned that I really like about the ride that you don't normally think about is you're sitting in front of the screen, you're shooting away, you're trying to hit all these targets it's in 3D, you got the glasses on. But then the cool thing is they do a really fun reset.
Oh, yeah.
Where your seat pulls back and spins and rotates, and you're like, whoa, and it moves you all around. So not only is it a game, but you're actually like moving around in this really cool, I don't know, it's not like a thrill ride, but I mean, they spin you around.
Yeah. So Space Ranger Spin is a dark ride with some sort of an interactive element.
Yeah, it's similar to Haunted Mansion than anything else.
Midway Mania is like you get not thrown around, but that cart actually, I mean, it moves.
It does. That's fun.
And I will tell you, I really like the premise, right? The Midway games that are like, we all love playing them, but nobody wants to go to Dinoland USA. Should I stop there? Nobody wants to go to that. Nobody wants to go to Dinoland USA and pay the money it takes to play those like Carnival Midway games. At least I don't want to, but like, so you're kind of playing those, like you're shooting darts at the balloons and making them explode. You're throwing, you're throwing baseballs at the tower of bottles, trying to make them go down, or like, it's the digital version of the shooting gallery over in Frontierland.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I love this ride. I think it's an amazing attraction. There's a reason that this was there before Toy Story Land, right? Because this is a very well thought out ride, and I think that if this isn't successful, I don't know that Toy Story Land gets made. You know what I mean? Like, it's the ride that started it all over in Hollywood Studios.
So I don't think you were at Hollywood Studios at this point, but the ride used to have its entrance where they call it Municiberg is right now. You know, the area with all the bricks.
Yeah, well, I know.
That whole area.
It's my pet peeve.
You walk down there and to the right-hand side, that was the entrance to get into it. So
and now it's just a dead end with nothing.
It was packed through there. So I'll end with this. I had one kind of a cool idea. Some rides like to do overlays.
Yeah, why don't I'm with you. Why don't they do overlays on this?
I mean, they must have the original source files that they can open up that they used for programming the game.
Listen, I teach programming classes.
Yeah.
So I know that the last thing you do after you've written the code is then you beautify it, right? You don't start with the nice looks, right?
Right. All that code for the game exists. That's the core of that.
The code is ancillary, right? I shouldn't say the code is. The imagery is ancillary. So you could easily go in and reanimate the whole thing.
Yeah. Every time Rex is on screen, now Rex has a Santa hat on. Yeah. Or every time I don't know, Woody comes on, Woody has like a Dracula costume on for Halloween.
Yeah. There's no reason they couldn't. I'm kind of shocked that they don't do that with those projection type rides because it's so, in my opinion, so easy to do. It's a cheap one too, right? You don't have to shut down the ride. You do the animation stuff separate, and then on a certain day you load that one. You load that one,
or close it for literally a day or half a day, whatever.
Yeah,
to load all the code in or whatever.
Yeah, I am very shocked that they don't, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I agree.
Well, and I think
done.
what it does too is it draws people back to that ride a little bit more. And I don't think they have short waits for that ride. It's always a steady wait. I wouldn't say it's out of control long.
No.
I'm guessing, I don't know, a lot of our listeners who are cast members would know a little bit better. I'm guessing an average wait time for that is 40 minutes? Is that excessive or is that average? That's a guess.
That might be a little high, but it's not
30 minutes.
It's not completely egregious to say that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a big fan of rope dropping that part of Disney World.
Yeah, we did.
Or of Hollywood Studios, because if you do it right and if you're lucky enough with you play the genie slots right.
Right.
You're able to possibly rope drop Toy Story Mania, then go over to Swirling Saucers because you've got a fast pass or whatever, lightning lane for Slinky Dog, and then you can jump right over. You can jump right over
Rise of the Resistance.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because then we jumped over and then we did Smuggler's Run.
Smuggler's Run. We were going to do Rise, but Rise was shockingly down.
Yeah. We ended up doing it later.
Yeah, but number 3 for us both was Toy Story Mania. I have a feeling we're about to go 3-2-1 match.
Yeah. Again, folks, we got together last night and we still didn't discuss what was on our list. Number 2 is right across the street, and that is Slinky Dog Dash.
Yeah.
We match up.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
good. Then I know we match up on number 1, too. Slinky Dog, I really enjoy the ride, but 2 trips ago, we had our whole day planned, and we planned it all out so at the very end of the night, we were going to end at night on Slinky Dog. And we did all the rides. We did everything we wanted to do. We make our way over. I don't know, park closes at 9. So let's say we get over there 7:30, 8 o'clock to get in line. And we can go on Slinky Dog and look at all the beautiful lights. Because I'll tell you, Toy Story Land at night is so cool with all those lights. It's amazing. So we walk up, we're ready to get on the line. And a cast member comes up and says, sorry, the ride's down for the night. We were so bummed. Because, we had ridden it before. It wasn't like our first time ever, but we love that ride. It's number 2 for me. It's a really great ride. So we didn't get to do it.
That's kind of like on you.
I know, it totally is. I'm not arguing that at all. We waited, and there's a chance that can happen.
Right.
And it did.
So it's kind of like when you hear people say, if you see something you want to buy as a souvenir, don't assume that it's going to be at another store later.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not it is your fault, but I don't blame you because that particular ride at night is something that you want to do, right?
Yeah. And we learned the hard way.
I love this ride.
I do too.
My daughter, this was admittedly our fault.
Yeah.
We took her on it maybe a little too early in her life. And so she was not real keen about Slinky Dog. But
it's fast. the drop is mild, but for a younger kid,
right? Yeah,
it could be intense.
They call it a family-friendly coaster. This is not, Barnstormer, right?
No,
this is legit. I love this ride. My favorite part is probably the up and down part, the little humps, or the restart. I think those are great.
I like that too because it kind of extends the ride when you get to the second launch.
Yeah,
and that's when they do the lights and they do the go. Is it the beginning or the halfway?
That's
through?
When they do the go. Yeah, they pull you back and they're like, yeah. I love this ride. The queue is great. It's hot.
It is. Be
prepared, folks.
Yeah.
I will also say that I don't know how long I'd wait for this ride because of how hot the queue is.
I don't know I think we've been to the park 3 times since it's been a ride. We rode it the first time we rode it, we had a fast pass. That's how long ago that was. Then the time after that, that's the time where we missed out. And then the third time we went with you and got to ride it. And that's when we had the lightning lane early in the morning. We got right through in our lightning lane, but ended up waiting the same amount of time because I think someone had he was either a heart attack or a heat stroke or something in line.
Heat stroke.
And they had to bring in the ambulance and take the poor lady out. So, I'm not mad about the woman having heat stroke. I mean, that it is what it is. I'm not going to be a jerk about that. But, you never know what's going to be thrown at you at the park. So,
yeah, I don't think we've ever waited longer than an hour in that line just because I've timed it well or because I've had a fast pass or lightning lane. Actually, the longest time I've ever waited was this last time when we were waiting for that woman to get taken care of.
Because I think when the ambulance had to come, I think it was maybe right before we were supposed to get on the line. I think we stood there for 25 minutes maybe.
We were literally
in one spot
at the front of we were ready to go. We were the next car loaded.
People are screaming and swearing in the back and storming off. And I mean, I feel bad. I mean, you want to turn and say, hey, lady's really hurt or really sick.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then you got jerks who are, I don't care. This is my vacation.
Yeah. Don't ruin how dare you with your heat emergency ruin my vacation.
Right. What if this was your sister or wife or grandmother,
Yeah.
You got to be a little kind once in a while.
I just love that ride, and I love the queue. But be prepared; it's going to be hot. So bring one of those UV umbrellas, or do it with a full bottle of water because you'll need it.
Listen to our Beat the Heat episode for more tips on that, folks.
Absolutely.
But don't stop yet. Wait for number one.
Yeah. Number one? You want to go ahead and just tell them number one since I think we match?
Well, at first I was thinking of putting my number one, the one that your wife is really afraid of.
Up a Big Bird Adventure?
Just kidding.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm just joking. We actually love that one though, but it wouldn't even.
I don't qualify it in this. I wouldn't. For me, it didn't qualify for the show, but it is a Pixar related show.
Yeah,
but not. I don't look at that as an attraction necessarily.
No, I was kidding. My number one is a brand new ride. Mm-hmm. We got to ride it twice on our last trip.
It is fabulous.
And it is sort of in an area of the park where it is very crowded now because there's a lot to do in this land, and that's France, and this is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. So now over in France, I mean, not only is this a great ride, but you have Remy's, you have the sing-along, you have, what's the name of the France movie? Reflections du France? Come on, Mr. French speaker. De, thank you. He speaks French, I do not.
I love this ride.
Oh, there's a picture of you and me on this ride. I don't know who took it, whether it was your wife or my wife. Like, we have the biggest smiles on our face, and we're so pumped. We got to find that.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a spoiler for the episode, but I'll see if I can find that. Maybe we can use that this week.
Yeah. I personally didn't have. I mean, I had high expectations because I know Disney rides are, they're great, but I did not expect this ride to immediately jump to like the top of my dark rides.
Yeah, me too.
This attraction, first off, I love the movie. Ratatouille is one of my favorite movies. And it's really a well done movie, and the attraction is even better done. I mean, I love this attraction. The theming in that particular ride is unbelievable. When you're under the table, the rolling table, right? And the wheels are rolling off to the side. And when you go through the walls and there's a screw sticking through.
I remember you were telling me, did you see the screw? I go, what? Was it on the floor? No, it was coming out of the wall.
Yep.
And then the second time we rode it.
What I will say, and this is going to be a little Easter egg for at least somebody who's listening.
Sure.
Is make certain that your sunglasses are stored appropriately so they don't fall off your head and shut down the entire ride for everybody. Especially if you're sitting in a car with other people you don't know and you think it's funny, but they do not. So don't do that on your honeymoon or anything. So shout out to our friends who may or may not have accidentally dropped their sunglasses onto the ride vehicle, which has like a pressure sensor, and realized something was off and like shut down the whole ride.
Oops.
But the 3D is done really well. The jump scare of like when the chef reaches his hand under.
It's great.
The feeling of the heat when they do when they turn the oven on. You know, it really is one of those 4D experiences, not 3D, because you do get, you know, the senses of, you know, all of your senses involved. They're spraying you with water when the champagne cork goes off. It's great. I mean, the ride vehicle tips a little bit. I love this ride, and it's worth the wait because the queue is so interesting. Well, I mean, the indoor part of the queue is interesting.
Oh, yeah, because it's basically a 50-50. I mean, half of it, you're outside roasting, and for the other half of it, you're inside with this just beautiful experience with the Gusteau's sign being fully animated in French and in English.
I will say this. If you have deluxe resort extended evening hours, don't waste your time doing this ride, because every other person is doing the same thing. Take advantage and do the other stuff, and then pick a different time to do this ride, like right before fireworks when it's low, because as soon as fireworks ended, we went there to go and ride this, and it was an hour and a half wait.
Yeah, we were figuring, it's going to be dead.
And trust me, an hour and a half wait is probably worth it for this ride, but like not when at the end of the night when you're trying to do as many rides as you can with your extended evening hours. We got this and one other ride, and that was it.
Yeah, my kids were exhausted too.
Yeah, so I personally don't generally enjoy waiting in long lines, but this queue is really cool because there's something to pick out, and you've got the Gusteau's sign, you've got you know, there's stuff going on in the windows.
There's a little art studio halfway through.
Yeah, it's just a really cool attraction, and there's a reason that it's number one for us. You know, a lot of people, like I've said, aren't a big fan of stuff entering the parks that is IP heavy. This is one that, like, I gotta say, I mean, the movie takes place in Paris.
Yeah.
So why not put it in the France Pavilion? It's a great ride. The same people who complain about it, I'm sure, ride it and love it because it's great. Any other thoughts?
I was just looking through my phone trying to find the photo of the two of us on the ride, and I'm realizing that there's probably 1,000 photos in here. And as I'm trying to scroll through, I'm like, I don't know how the heck I'm even going to find this thing.
Right.
So I am putting my phone back down, and I will look for it later, and it can be a surprise for all of our listeners.
Yeah.
So honorable mentions here.
Yep.
The Great Bird Adventure. We won't count it. I mean, it's sort of themed.
You can count it. I just didn't.
Well, and this particular attraction is like, it's the bird show, but you have Russell from Up and Doug. They come out and they talk and they do the whole thing with the birds. You know, I don't mean to pick on your wife. It's funny. A lot of people don't like birds, and it's kind of a fun show. We've done it quite a few times. The next one I have is one of the most polarizing of all, and that's Tough to Be a Bug. I think it's kind of cool, but some people hate it. I mean, this is really one of the most hated attractions, right?
I would agree.
I mean, if we did a top 5 most hated, I mean, I don't really hate a lot of things at Disney. I like most of these rides, but I think this particular one is not from me, but I hear a lot of hate about Tough to Be a Bug. And
I agree.
Certain people in my family are in that group too.
Yeah, I don't dislike the attraction at all. It's not on my honorable mention. It's not one that I like seek out, but I don't. So I'm like one of the few people who's not polarized by it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you either love that ride. Usually, you either love that ride or you hate it. I have. So I got to bring this up because it's hilarious to me. Last trip, we had an Uber driver who was a former cast member, and he was asking me, he's like, so, you know, Rise of the Resistance, what's that known by, like, online? And I was like, ROTR? He's like, yeah. He's like, Slinky Dog Dash, what do people call that? I was like, SDD? He's like, yeah, you'd think that they would have thought about that when they made Alien Swirling Saucers. And like, I never really thought about it. People always refer to rides like TSM for Toy Story Mania. Yeah. So, but Alien Swirling Saucers is my honorable mention. Honestly,
that's on mine too. That was next on my list.
But I just think it's funny every time now that I write it down. That's what I write it as, is this acronym, and it's just so funny. Like, hey, like, want to go ride Alien Swirling Saucers, but think about it like with in the acronym. It's just kind of funny.
Now, I'll tell you the reason it could have been on my list too, but the reason it wasn't is that I just feel like it's a little bit too short. Like, I want them to add 30 seconds and I'd be happy.
30 seconds?
Yeah. Just give me a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe, a minute, sure, definitely. I just need it. I need it to be a little bit longer.
It's one of the few, like, rides of that style that I enjoy. I'm excited to hear what your take is, because it's the same ride, just different theme. What your take is over in Disneyland.
The Mater ride?
The Mater ride, yep.
Yeah.
Mater's Roundup Rodeo.
Majors. I just said Majors. The Major Roundup Rodeo. This is a new restaurant based on the character named Major, who is one of the Green Men.
Yeah.
No, I'll stop now.
Yeah. So this was this list matched up a lot, but I'm kind of surprised actually that it matched up as well as it did.
Well, there's a lot of Pixar attractions, but I think the top of the food chain's the top of the food chain for a reason.
I honestly thought you were going to put Tough to Be a Bug up on your list.
No, it's cool.
Because I know you like it.
I do. But again, I think that's another one of those rides that the actual ride portion of it needs some TLC. I think, honestly, the outside still looks amazing.
Oh.
Like, it still looks really good.
Yeah.
The inside is, I don't know. The seats are a little dingy. I don't know. Needs a little work.
I think it need to be rethemed altogether.
And it can be. Yeah, I think you definitely could. And there's an episode for that too, if you want to go back and listen to that one, folks.
Yeah.
You had Chip and Dale for that one, right?
Yeah. I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I had Chip and Dale. My son wanted like something about evolution and extinction because, he's like every other 11-year-old and thinks about watching documentaries to enjoy his time.
What was the one I had for that? I can't even remember what I did for the retheme.
Oh, Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock. Yeah,
Fraggle Rock.
It just came to me as soon as you said it. I was trying to think underground.
Yeah.
Okay, Fraggle Rock.
Hey, we really appreciate all the love we got this week when we hit the 5,000 milestone. So thanks so much again, and it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.